Hey, 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 happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, interestingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. This is live show 1205. Because fives are wild tonight. If you are not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. We just hang out talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And then a lot of times I'll take a first look at a game, either unboxing a board game or more likely paging through a role-playing game release. Maybe we talk about a topic like we did last night in a possible Cold Shack the Night Stalker role-playing game. Well, not possible. We just chatted about what it might look like. And every once in a while, I'll tackle a topic that is related to our hobby. But tonight, it is time for our monthly live Paizo Preview. That's right. I am going to be sharing a first look at 6 items which are arriving in stores on July 2nd. You're actually getting 2 waves of releases in July from Paizo Inc. because the 31st is the first day of Gen Con, and that is when you will have the Starfinder Player Core, or I should say Starfinder 2nd Edition Player Core arriving in stores. I should have it a little bit early, so I'm hoping I can share a video, at least a first look at that, before I head off to Gen Con, because I always go down there the Wednesday before. But you got a lot of Paizo goodies arriving this month. We're going to be looking at son of them. Yes, the son and daughters of them. We're going to be looking at some of them in just a bit. In fact, if you're popping on in because you want to check out the Paizo Preview, keep in mind, we always tackle the tabletop gaming news first around here. Probably going to be about 35, maybe 40 minutes before we get into that. So if you're watching live, just kick back, relax, put your feet up. If you are watching after the fact, maybe even on Memorex, there are timestamps so you can jump past the news, get right into that preview. And of course, depending on the device you're watching this on, could be right there in the timeline, or you got to look down in the show notes. Sweet. Of course, when you're not watching videos here on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you will not find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And then because this is a live show, that means there is chat available. You do have to be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part in chat. One of the ways I get rid of a lot of the stranger, oddball commenters out there. But if you happen to check that box and you want to say howdy, maybe get a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I'll do my very best to respond. First out the gate tonight is our pal Sean O'Donnell, followed by Semper Buffo, Jose Fernandez, Kevin R. Smith. Wallona's Cave is also hanging with the gang. Keith Hulu just popped on in, and I will not be surprised that the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D is performing chat moderator duties from the shadows. Very nice. Kevin R. Smith says, Son of Paizo, all new horror. It's right up there with Son of Frankenstein. Jose Fernandez said, it's been a long time no see. Yes. We haven't seen Jose in a few weeks So they had to step away. I know there was just too much excitement, right? Had to take a breath, step back. And yes, Sarah D says that she has her glittery banhammer ready. Max Apocalypse is also popping on into chat. All right, let's jump on into the news because the Labyrinth World Book has arrived for Kobold Press. I got the scoop. The paths between worlds lie open. A realm of heroes stretching across infinity. The labyrinth connects fantastic worlds with hidden pathways and roads visible to only a few. Between worlds, these paths rise and fall. Heroes forge their destinies, and the all-consuming void seeks a way in. The Labyrinth World Book is a complete guide to the Labyrinth campaign overlay, allowing adventurers and game masters the freedom to travel to any campaign setting. Within this book, you'll find resources for the ultimate world-hopping adventure, including over 10 new subclasses. So does that mean 11? For the Tales of the Valiant role-play game, including battle-hardened troopers, reality-bending dreamer druids, waysmith rangers, and more. The powers of the void and the labyrinth at your fingertips. Harness 5 new styles of magic, including illumination, dream, and the dread power of the void. A gazetteer to the known worlds and key locations of the labyrinth, including over 50 worlds submitted by Kobold Press fans and supporters. Dozens of unique factions, gods, items, and monsters to populate your next journey through the 10,000 worlds. Leave your world behind. Step into countless realms of adventure. This 300-plus page hardcover carries an MSRP of $54.99. I don't think it's in stores yet. I think it is in transit. But you can grab just the PDF alone right now over at DriveThruRPG for $34.99. Always exciting to see a new Kobold Press release. In fact, there are 2 because we have the Labyrinth World Book. Tomorrow we will talk about the Labyrinth Adventures book. Of course, this had a very successful Kickstarter. So yes, looking forward to an opportunity to check this out. I will guess our friends over at Kobold Press will be sending along the print copies for us to take a peek at. Moonlight Long, now available from Haunted Industries and Exalted Funeral, is Weird Heroes of Public Access, the role-playing game. Here's what I know. Lights, camera, technical difficulties, action. The portal of public access is opened, and now is your time to shine. Grab your ventriloquist dummy, ham radio, and x-ray glasses and get to work. Fairhaven needs heroes. What is Weird Heroes of Public Access? Introducing, yes, you guessed it, Weird Heroes of Public Access, the tabletop role-playing game that lets you and your friends step into the shoes of quirky public access TV personalities, battling monsters, angry moms, and juvenile delinquents to save your beloved town of Fairhaven. Under the glow of a relentless full moon, you and your crew of public access heroes will use a simple D6 pool system to quickly get into the action. Time is of the essence as you race to uncover Fairhaven's darkest secrets and protect your show from being canceled. This 100-plus page core rulebook is packed with everything you need, including the complete Weird Heroes of Public Access game rules, selections from Tales from Fairhaven, Volumes 1 and 2, the WHPA Station Manager's Guide, as well as over 20 pages of brand new unreleased content. Let's get weird. The 112-page hardcover, that's the information I've got, does carry an MSRP of $35 over at Exalted Funeral. If you want to grab just the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $20. I do have to mention, I am not sure if you get the PDF with the hardcover, because sometimes with Exalted Funeral you do, sometimes you don't. I think it's kind of more up to the creators, the designers. So I don't know. But I will say, if you watched last night's episode when we talked about the Kolchak role-playing game and what it might look like, I think it was DB was with us in chat, and they kept recommending this role-playing game. And I said, you know, this is pretty funny because I already had a news piece for this because this is a new release over at Exalted Funeral. And I have actually put in a request to get a review copy of this. So fingers crossed, we might actually get a chance to take a peek at this. Sean O'Dell says, happy to see Kobold Press pushing forward with Tales of the Valiant and Labyrinth. Kevin R. Smith says they just downloaded their PDF for the Labyrinth Kickstarter. They like it. Gives you a bunch of worlds. It's a world-hopping setting and enough new cleric subclasses to make building a diverse pantheon easier. Cool. Russell Higgins is with us tonight. Kathy Evans is popping on in. Shaz has joined us. W. Forge is also in chat. So it looks like we've got a nice chat rocking and rolling so far. So let's talk about saving you some money because Cawood Publishing and Bundle of Holding have joined forces for a money-saving offer on Cawood's 5e supplements. And here's the deets on the deal. Game Master. This all-new Cawood Monsters bundle presents bestiaries and DM sourcebooks from Andrew Cawood at Cawood Publishing for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and compatible tabletop role-playing games, with conversion advice for old-school essentials, Dungeon Crawl Classics, and Pathfinder. These full-color guides, beautifully illustrated by Travis Hansen, give you hundreds of monsters, each with an illustration, stat block, and a succinct description. Challenge ratings range from 1/8, ick, a worm, to 30, a worm. With maps and lore, encounter and event tables, regions and locations, these best-selling Cawood monster guides energize your campaigns with arthrops, big reliefs, clone shrooms, also gloom shrooms, death scribes, doppelbeasts, earworms, elven ghost, fireballers, grandmother owl, huntars, ice wings, jaded jailers, knucklers, library golems, mist phantoms, nag hags, ogre barons, the pumpkin king, clog, Rakshasa lords, the royal pain, slither kelp, sugar dragons, not to be confused with sugar daddies, terrible toads, unicorns in 3 colors, Vothgar blizzard wizards, whirlybirds, wicked tuna, wobble gobbles, Zorn again, they're undead, Yarbeaks, Zagglers, zombie basilisks, and the most dangerous creature of all, the Master of Dungeons. For just $14.95, you'll get all 8 complete titles in this Cawood collection, which has a retail value of $61 as DRM-free PDFs, including Monsters of Feyland and Feyland 2, The Well of Dreams, Monsters of the City, the Dungeon, the Underworld, and the Wilderness, and 2 popular non-monstrous Cawood sourcebooks, the Between Dungeons Handbook and Hirelings and Henchmen. These savings will run through July 14th. And if you recall, I have actually reviewed a few of these Cawood Publishing releases. It has been a while, but if you do a little search, you will find my review videos. Spoiler alert, I like these. I like them. They're pretty cool. Artwork is pretty neat once you realize it's a little cartoonish, but that is the style that they're going for throughout the entire series of books. So, all fits in. Gary Mountford is with us in chat. I believe this is a first-time visit in chat for Gary. Welcome. They said greetings from Australia. Well, welcome aboard. Make yourself comfortable. Keith Ulu says they'd be interested in seeing a review of Weird Heroes of Public Access. Sean Adult says they've got the PDF of Monsters of Feyland, and the art is pretty good. Page layouts could have used some love, though, but solid content within. Agile Monk is popping on in with us as well. Moonright Long, Mythworks has launched a Kickstarter for the Cyber+PNK role-playing game. Here's the skinny on Overlord. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's Overload. What the hell did I say Overlord for? I'm cracking up. It's been a long day. And it's been a long day. We'll talk. We'll talk after the news. Cyber+PNK Overload is the first official expansion for, well, not going to go out on a limb and take a guess. It is Cyber+PNK. Make your last run through megacities devastated in violence, exfil weird cargo from high security labs, and compete for glory in deadly virtual worlds. Overload brings you a mix of revised and expanded community-made material, plus exciting new stuff in a themed 3-pack collection. In Cyber+PNK, you're a runner, a merc, criminal, activist, living on the edge and running in the shadows of a gritty, ultra-violent world. So it's set in our modern day. In each game, we play an entire new cast of characters making their last run. What is this, Logan's Run? Cyber+PNK runs on a super condensed version of John Harper's Forged in the Dark system, specially tweaked for action-packed one-shot sessions. Everything you need comes in 8-panel pamphlets, complete rules, a campaign framework, dry erase character sheets, and settings and scenarios for low prep play. There is a box set that they're offering with this as well, but I'm focusing on the Overload expansion. It is a trio of pamphlets. This is fully funded. You can reserve a copy for a $40 pledge. If you want to just secure the PDF, you can do so for a $20 pledge through July 10th. The expected delivery is this January, so pretty nice, quick turnaround. Like to see that. Pretty cool. Chardell said, oh, I'm sorry, I already read that from Sean. Daryl Arrett and Matthew Perkins, as well as Mark Hawkswell, are joining us. Mark says, I really dig the Overload package aesthetic. Interesting. All right. Matthew Perkins says, let's see some pages. I wish I could. I'm just sharing images from the Kickstarter. And there was no example PDF or preview PDF to take a peek at. So you're getting what you get. That's about it. That's about it there. All right, on to our final news piece, because The Wandering Tavern is returning to print. And here's the lowdown from Homie and the Dude. The Wandering Tavern is a 200-plus page traveler's guide to an expansive Studio Ghibli-inspired floating tabletop role-playing game setting. Explore this immense soaring city with 15 battle maps that detail its every nook and cranny. Delve deep into the devious underbelly of the tavern while getting to know its wide range of unique NPC patrons and staff. The Wandering Tavern's dark mysteries and entangled truths are yours to unlock. While traversing this vast metropolis, use remarkable magical items to protect yourself from the twisted spirits stalking the halls. However, if you have to escape, you can glide through uncharted skies on never-before-seen zephyrs, constructed from a plethora of brand-new parts and stations. This is a system-agnostic floating tabletop role-playing game setting with an optional 5e D&D stat section included. It's packed full of plot hooks, mysteries, threats, everything you need for a campaign. However, if you already have an established world/setting, the Wandering Tavern is the perfect pit stop for your players to visit, take a load off, and delve into a whole new sort of adventure. You can grab the 205-page hardcover over at Drive-Thru RPG for $59.99. If you want to just score the PDF alone, you can do so for $36.76. And as Sean O'Donnell points out, yes, I have reviewed The Wandering Tavern. It's sold out. It is back in print. I liked it. I'm trying to remember. I think I gave it, it was about around an 8. Because there were a few things like, okay, so they tried to make it out like it's this floating metropolis. Well, it's more like a village. It's kind of a floating village. So it's not as large as it's kind of presented to be in the sell sheet info. But it does really have that kind of Studio Ghibli anime sort of vibe to it. Yeah, a little Miyazaki. Isn't that how his last name's pronounced? Sort of a vibe to it. A little kind of, you know what's kind of funny? I don't know why, but I kind of got like a fantasy Porco Rosso vibe from this when I was reading it. I have no idea why, because it has been literally 35 years since I've seen that film. I don't know. That's just what popped in my head. All right, there you have it. That is the news for this evening. Of course, I was just talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget, the gaming gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to go visit Drive-Thru RPG, Storyteller's Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, Wargame Vault, any of those One Bookshelf sites, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% of that sale. And those commissions really go a long way to helping keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always help support the Gaming Gang in a couple of ways. First off, if you'd like, you can always make a one-time donation by way of PayPal. There is a link to that down in the show notes. And huge thank you to both Spencer Lee and Agile Monk for extremely generous one-time donations they've recently made through PayPal. But hell, if you want, you can just swing on by and buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Or not. And of course, we do have a Patreon. If you want to become one of our Patreon members, I give a shout out to all of our Patreon members on each live show. So big thank you to our $5 level tier members. Level and tier, kind of the same word. I don't know why I used both of those. But big thank you to Gustavo Carvalho, Jason Lawman, Koval, Kevin R. Smith, Marius Smith, Max Pocalypse, Sean O'Donnell, and Telzek. $10 members, Dan Webb, The Game Cat, Pete Strakolich, RPG Munch, Testy Trekkie, and Tier 2 DM. And of course, we also have our $25 level members, Agile Monk and The Madman. So thank you very much, everybody. Once again, of course, if you want to join our Patreon, there is a link to that in the show notes. We also have our Discord server. We're almost at 100 members on the Discord server. I know it's not like I don't really push it, but there are a few people who are hanging out in chat who do hang out on the Discord server from time to time, and I do pop in there. I respond to people there. I post stuff on there. It's fairly active. So there is that. So sweet. And then lastly, also want to point out, we are in the final week of the spring 2025 used game sale. Still got, I think, 190, 200 items. I don't know. I didn't count them all up. But whatever doesn't sell, the vast majority of that is going to go with me to Indianapolis and go into the auction for Gen Con. The way that we finance our convention coverage is through these game sales. That's where the vast majority of our coverage funds come from. So there's that. If you haven't taken a peek, take a peek. A lot of good stuff. A lot of great board games. A lot of great role-playing games. Looking for new homes. Okay. So Smoking Pot says the local KC convention begins tomorrow. They cannot afford it again this year. That sucks. Sorry to hear that. Warren Rollins asks, what's the update on that? Post the link. I'm not, says still hoping their email got to me. I don't think I've got one from you, Warren. Worst case scenario. And I don't know what's going on. I do have a pretty vigilant, I guess I will say, spam filter on my emails, and I still get crap. And if you reach out, like the email address is, what is it? TGG sale 2025, something like that, at gaminggang.com. If you go to the gaminggang.com, kind of up top, you'll see that there's kind of a little banner there for the sale. Click on that. You can see whatever is still cooking there, right? Anyway, if for some reason you email me at that email address and you do not get a response, just email me at Jeff McAleer at thegaminggang.com. Once again, if you go to thegaminggang.com, you will see the top links. There is one to contact me, and that will have the email address there as well. So I'll have to take a peek, Warren. I do not believe I have seen an email from you. Straight Kismet is with us tonight. Welcome, welcome, Captain Infinity, Time Police. We're busted, everybody. Has arrived, said this primer topic is blowing up. Somebody just claimed primer is the UK pronunciation. You don't sound like a limey to me, and you confirmed it's primer, correct? Ooh, we're going to get into this. Okay. So here in the United States, as Kevin R. Smith is pointing out, I believe most people will pronounce it primer, like primary. So they'll pronounce it that way. Outside the US, I always hear it called primer. And I forget. I was doing I was on somebody's show, and they asked me, they were doing an interview with me, and they'd asked me, how do I pronounce it? Primer or primer? And I said, I would always say primer. And then I had people bitch me out. That's not how it's pronounced. I was like, okay. It's like, tomato, potato, okay? All right. Though I've never heard anybody say potato. Yes, I think I will have the steak. Could I also get a baked potato with that? Maybe a side of broccoli? Anywho, so I went and had the other echogram done today, and it had to be with contrast. So I'm thinking, okay, so they're going to just give me a shot of whatever they got to, got to get in your blood system so, your heart functions show up a little clearer. Well, no, it was an IV, which I don't know what it is nowadays, but they just love sticking IVs in your arm just so they have them there. Like if they need to access your veins at some point later on in the day. I'm like, okay. So the nurse, she's poking around. She's like, oh, you have very nice veins. And I'm like, really? Because people usually complain they can't find them. She goes, no. So I don't know if you've ever had an IV or if you've ever had like blood drawn. I was trying to combine both those words in one. You know, how's that pronounced? Is it brilliant or is it bitterly? Anyway, so when they go in with a pretty good gauged needle, usually it would be like here, right where your arm bends at the elbow. I was like, okay, all right. They went in here on the side, and I've had them do that before, and I'll be damned, man, that hurts. It is like, and usually you get the IV, goes into here, and it's there. You can kind of feel it, but it's not that big a deal. As long as you're not moving your arm around a lot, because you got a needle sticking in your vein and then taped down in that. I'll be damned if I didn't feel this the whole time. And so what they did is they put the IV in, and then they put whatever the saline mix with whatever compound that would show up better. And they would just like squeeze a little bit, squeeze a little bit, squeeze a little bit. So thankfully it wasn't one of these, what? Because I had that one time when I was awaiting my triple bypass. I had to stay 7 days in the hospital, not because of any reason outside of I was on blood thinners. So they had to get the blood thinners out of my system, and it took 7 days sitting in the hospital, just twiddling my thumbs. And of course, they're in every few hours drawing blood and blood. So anyway, so they were like, I was on an IV, and there was whatever medication dripping in that was replacing, was trying to flush the blood thinners out. And a nurse came in and she said, yeah, we just got your blood work back. We gotta increase the dosage. So she takes, a needle and just goes, that blasted up my arm. I was like, ah! I was like, what the hell? Zoinks. So we'll probably find out what's going on Friday. So next week, next Tuesday, I will probably give everybody an update on what's going on. Like I said before, I got a bad feeling that I'm going to have to go have an angiogram, which will probably lead to, hopefully, if I have to have that done, it'll just lead to angioplasty. If not, like I told my best friend Elliot, I said, yeah, I don't know if I'll go through, if I would go through another bypass. Don't know. Agile Monk, thank you very much. But I mean, I feel great. I feel fine. The only reason why we're even doing this is because I have some tightness right up in here, and it's not painful. It's just, it suddenly arrived. I've had it for about a year, maybe a little more. And it's just there. And then sometimes if I'm laying in a certain position, it's gone. And other times I have it. Like right now, I got it. But I mean, it's not like it's like, oh, or anything. It's just, it's there. So I don't know. Do you? Sarah D says they are diabetic. Their blood draws are always inner elbow. The only time they've had an IV, they put it on the outside of the forearm. I had an IV one time on the outside of my hand. They put it like here or something. Sarah says the nurse begged to put it in their right arm because they had such a beautiful vein there. Just had to tap it. Yes. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. All right. Anyway, but yes, those of you out there sharing good thoughts, thank you kindly. Much appreciated. Like you said, what am I going to do? Right? What am I supposed to do? Be like, oh, I don't know what's in. Same thing. I mean, when I was in the hospital and I was going to have the triple bypass, I was just like, okay, well, you know, let's just do it. Let's just get it done. Get her done. I wasn't like, ooh. I was like, oh, come on. Just like, I think I've told the story. The worst thing, the absolute worst thing was the chest tubes coming out. I have never felt that level of pain ever until then. And that's the only time. And it was like, holy shit. Thankfully, it wasn't something that lingered. That I have to say, okay. It was like, oh, and I did what they told me to do. Because they said to take a deep breath, and then when they tell me to exhale, and you were supposed to exhale, and they were yanking. Because if you were inhaling as they were doing that, big problems could come up. So, but oh man, I was like, that woke me up. And the nurse, I was actually talking to the nurse about that today, and she said, well, I'm sure they had you on some sort of drugs. I'm like, well, they may have had me on some sort of drugs, but they just weren't good enough. Shout out said, what a little John hurt in Alien, eh? Yeah, cracking the old chest, huh? All right, so anyway, tonight we're going to dive on in. We are going to do the Paizo Preview for July 2025. There are 6 items we are going to be taking a peek at. But you know what? Before we do that, I don't know about you. What time do you think it is? Anybody want to take a guess? Anybody take a guess? Maybe, I don't know. A brief intermission?
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
If going to a movie show is right for you, if candy eating and popcorn chewing's right for you, if what you do is right for you, no matter what the others do, then RC Cola is right for you. It's not too heavy, not too sweet, it's right for you. RC Cola. RC's just an easy going, right for you. RC Cola. If what you do is right for you, no matter what the others do, then RC Cola is right for you. It's right for you. It's right for you.
Hey, kid, have a carrot.
A carrot?
Carrot sticks are, yes, indeed. They are delicious. If you must eat in between meals, why not eat nutritious dishes? Like fill a bowl with ice cubes, then add raw cauliflower. Stuff celery with cheese and let it chill for half an hour. Add carrot sticks and olives and any other knickknacks. Then keep this by the TV set for when you want those quick snacks. Well,
I'm waiting. Could you make me a banana?
okay, you're a banana.
It's your present from Mr. Wilkins.
But I don't drink Wilkins instant coffee.
I know, he just wanted to be remembered.
And now, just for you cinema owners, a special message from the star of that film, Steve Martin.
Hi, theater owners. There's a picture coming out directed by Carl Reiner, starring myself, Steve Martin. It's called The Jerk. And I just want to let you know, we're going to hype the hell out of this thing. It's going to be a real moneymaker for all of us if we cooperate. Picture's got everything they want. It's got the chase scene. It's got the karate fight. It's got the blue language they love so much. It's got the double entendre. The adults get it, the kids don't. Everybody goes out happy. Plus, we stuck in a phony disco song. They all go out whistling it at the end like a bunch of idiots. This is the first. We intentionally stuck in a boring part in the middle, just for you theater owners. About an hour into the picture, they're going to be out buying your popcorn in droves. They're going to be lined up. You may even have to take on extra help just to handle all the business. You're welcome. Gift from Steve. Reviews? Don't worry about it. We got 100 great reviews coming all across the nation. We took care of it, okay? The old cashola. Plus, we made a preview of coming attractions. We took the best stuff from the picture, stuck it all on one reel. They're going to think this picture's loaded. We even got stuff from other movies on it. By the time they figure that one out, we're going to have their money. We'll be in the Bahamas. Publicity? Don't worry about publicity. I got that covered. I'm going to do a publicity stunt the day before the picture opens. Can't tell you what it is. Well, I'll give you a little bit. You heard the expression, let it all hang out? Well, at noon, the middle of Fifth Avenue.
Hey! Hey, who put this reel on? This reel is for theater owners. Put the other reel on!
Hanging out.
I just love that promo for the jerk. I think it's classic. Plus, if you notice, just over Steve Martin's shoulder is the cover to his book, Cruel Shoes. The Cruel Shoes, which I remember reading in high school. You know what? I may not have even been in high school. I may have been like 7th or 8th grade. One thing that people don't realize, especially if you're not old like me, is just how big Steve Martin was. I would say the only comedian I can think of that was selling out as big of venues as Steve Martin was probably Dane Cook before he flamed out. Mark Hawkswell says, I know Jeff doesn't like the jerk all that much. It's fine. You know what? I haven't seen it in so long. Maybe I'll watch it tonight or tomorrow night. I'm actually in the middle of binging that Argentinian post-apocalyptic series. How's it called? Eternaut, something like that, over on Netflix. I heard some good things about it, and last night I was finally like, okay, all right, I'll take a peek, because subtitles don't bother me. I've watched foreign movies forever. So I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. And I'm like, this is good. A couple episodes into it, 2.5 actually. So Captain Infinity says, from their perspective, Jeff is so young. Well, because you can travel throughout time. Time is relative. I understand that. But as far as Mark goes, my best friend, Elliot Miller, loved The Jerk. And even to this day, he'll still every once in a while throw out, because we have our, movie lines that we'll just throw out of nowhere. And he'll toss out he hates these cans and stuff like that. All righty. So there is that. So tonight, it is the live Paizo preview for July 2025. That's right. We are going to be looking at 6 items, which are going to be in stores on July 2nd. And as we usually operate this, we're going to start off by taking a look at the Flip-Mats. Captain Infinity says, thanks for not assuming my gender, but I am a he, I'm pretty sure. I never just assume, because I do know there are some folks who are in chat, who are women, and their nicknames don't, make you think that. And then there's some folks who, are guys who just have nicknames like, well, okay, well, I don't know. I don't know what gender they would be. So I never assume. Although the reality is I know our audience is mainly old guys. So Robert Reynolds has jumped in, said, just popped in to say hello. Hello. And to tell you that the Dungeon Crawl Classics bundle on Fanatics is great. Yes, I did talk about that yesterday. They have one for Classic Twilight 2000 now, too. That is brand new. That was not there yesterday or day before. So, anyway, Sean Dawson, Jeff calls me they, and he's met me. No, I don't call you they. It's them. Captain Finity says they are not a real captain either. So, yes, Robert, you're very welcome as far as the info I spread. Hey, just doing what I can to help the hobby. Yeah. A lot of times you wouldn't encounter some of this stuff I talk about, and it's like, hey, and funny enough, there are, publishers out there who just a mention from us triples, quadruples their sales. So pretty cool. W4 says, when do you assume you make an ass out of you and me? Yes, good old Fred Sanford, I do believe. I think it was utilized more than just that one time, though. Klontos is joining us. All right, first thing up on our preview is the Pathfinder Flip-Mat City Districts Multi-Pack. This is going to carry an MSRP of $29.99. You will be able to get the PDF for $9.99. Ooh, look at that nice small font for me to try to read. Yes. Take it to the streets. Take it to the streets. Doing a little Michael McDonald there. I was never a big fan of that band. All right. Big, crowded cities teem with adventure. So give your players something to see while their characters are out and about in town. This Flip-Mat multi-pack shows a street view of 4 different districts in a fantasy metropolis, each with busy intersections, persuasive vendors, and danger in the alleys, waiting to prey on those who walk the streets. What do you mean, prostitutes? It's like, what? When you need a good city scene in your adventures, Pathfinder Flip-Mat City Districts Multi-Pack has you covered. So we've got a couple. So Keith Lewis says, me too. I can't stand Michael McDonald. Well, I don't have anything personally against him. I was just never a Steely Dan fan. Oh, I'm sorry, Doobie Brothers. Steely Dan's another one that I'm not a fan of. All right, let's take a peek, see what we got here. So, of course, these are 3x3 as far as the panels go. As with all of the flip mats, they are treated, so you can utilize these and use dry erase markers. You can also use wet markers, permanent markers. My understanding is if you happen to use permanent marker on this, you've got to write over it with dry erase in order to remove it. That's what I've heard. I can't tell you from personal experience, though. All right, so this looks like that's kind of a dock area. Oh, it's upside down. It's a little light on the details inside. So here's a fountain, here's a fireplace. So we've got some fireplaces, but the rest pretty empty. Well, we get some doors, we get some stairs. Of course, I'm going to mention that if you play skirmish level miniatures, these flip mats are excellent, especially if you're using like a 5-foot grid kind of thing. Captain Infinity's talking about where Steely Dan comes from. I know where it comes from. If I, well, we won't get into it. I mean, we're talking about Paizo role-playing game releases, so. Okay, so what we got here? Is this a swampy area? Kind of looks like it is, right? Sorta swampy. That was my radio name in Saskatchewan. Swampy Mackle here on KWZA. All right. And then this looks... Now these really kind of look residential to me, not necessarily like a city. So here, this obviously is supposed to be a small stable. I don't know. All right. So there you have it. Those are the 2 flip mats for the City Districts Multi-Pack. Then we've got the Cityscape Multi-Pack for Starfinder. I gotta be honest, I'm pretty excited to take a look at the player core for 2nd edition Starfinder. As I had pointed out, if you've missed it, I am going to do the early reviews for Starfinder 2nd edition. So I'm going to take on the first Adventure Path. If I remember correctly, I think there is a full-length adventure that's also releasing. So Max Apocalypse says, I keep forgetting Jeff doesn't like the doobies. Well, depends on what kind of doobie you're talking about, but still. All right. So, I didn't read the back. All right, let's take a look. What a beautiful city! With 4 unique maps, each bringing a different district of a futuristic city to your game, Starfinder Flip-Mat Cityscape Multi-Pack works for near modern and far future campaigns alike. One mat in this set displays a modern city square with sleek cars and holographic displays. The other side is a maze of crisscrossing alleyways and rooftops, perfect for intrigue. The second mat showcases a residential district and major apartment complex. Its reverse side brings you to the heart of a vibrant commercial district with maglev station and office security checkpoint to get your infiltration missions underway. Never enter a city unprepared. These maps have you covered for almost any urban encounter. All right, so there we go. So these are the cars. Hey, look, it's the Mach 5. I swear it looks like the Mach 5. Not exactly the Mach 5, but still. All right. Another one up here. So a lot of neon there. Then, oh, that's kind of wild. So this isn't just a top-down. Interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a flip mat like this. I'm sure there probably have been. I just haven't seen it. All right, so that's our first. Then our next. Here, looks like we got some more vehicles. I think this might be the apartment complex area. All right, come on, unfold. Thank you. These are always nice and thick too, so these will hold up really nicely. So yeah, so looks like we've got a little commercial area here, and then yeah, this will be. I guess this is the entryway to the apartment complex. A couple of vehicles there too. Nice and colorful, gotta say that. All right, and then this, it's kind of an office complex. Evolve, breathe. Okay, thanks. Keep that in mind. Now, these look kind of cool. I could see utilizing these for a miniatures game with like the Cyberpunk miniatures game. The, oh gosh, what is it? Combat. Is it Combat Mission? Is it Cyberpunk Combat Mission? I'm trying to remember. Max Apocalypse asked, is it the Mach 5.5 or the Mach 2024? Well, it's the new Mach 5. I thought you knew that. All right, so there we have the 2 flip mats in the Cityscape Multi-Pack. This also has an MSRP of $29.99, or you'll be able to score the PDF for $9.99. Then we've got the Deck of Endless Treasure. A vast hoard of treasure, creating unique items to entice and excite the players each time they open a chest or vanquish a dragon can be a real challenge. But the Deck of Endless Treasure makes it as simple as drawing 4 cards. These cards combine to form an interesting piece of treasure with its own details, power, quirk, and secret plot hook. With millions of different combinations, you're sure to get a fun, brand new item every time. I remember there was a deck of NPCs that was like this. That was actually pretty interesting. So we will have a couple of decks in here because it says it's 110 cards. Yep, 110 cards. So each card is going to be broken up into different sections. If this is like the NPC deck was. Robert Reynolds says you could use those flip mats for Blade Runner, Judge Dredd. I am the law. I know, I can never get over that. What was it, 10 minutes into the movie? Stallone's taking his helmet off. I've said this before, I'll say it again, because I went and saw it with Elliot. Because Elliot knew nothing about Judge Dredd. Of course, I had read Judge Dredd comics. All the big famous story arcs. So anyway, I'll never forget. Stallone takes his helmet off and I go, what the fuck? All right, start here. An endless wealth of magical treasure awaits you inside this deck. Each item with its own special abilities, quirks, and secrets. All you need to do to create one is to draw any 4 cards from the deck. So that is our front. That is our back. Creating treasure. It says, draw 3 cards and place them item side down in the arrangement shown in diagram 1. All right, so there's diagram 1. So we're going like this, right? And then that comes over here, right? And then you take the card and drop it like so. So what you're looking at is we've got this section here. So this lance, it is glowing. You can interact to cause the item to shine with magical lights or dismiss it. Attentive. When seeing someone, the item whispers to remind its owner of their previous encounters. And then we have, it's kind of covered up there. Overloading Surge. You touch your item to a nearby creature and channel a massive amount of electricity into it. One adjacent creature must succeed at a hard basic fortitude save or take high energy, electricity damage. Kind of cool, huh? Nice, very nice. And that's how you'll actually create these. And it was very similar the way you created the NPCs. So pretty nice. Now, this carries an MSRP of $29.99. You'll be able to get the PDF for $14.99. I wish they had put it in a tall deck box as opposed to breaking it up into 2 decks to go in there. But it is what it is. Charnel says, damn, that could be very useful. Captain Infinity says, happy 43rd birthday to Blade Runner. Deckard is definitely a replicant. Yes. I thought that's been decided. Although the reality is, aren't there like 6 different editions of it? It's like, I remember seeing that. My dad, well, I shouldn't say my dad took me. I had my dad take me to see that. All right, so we've got a brand new Adventure Path, which is premiering in July. It is Mythspeaker, and the first chapter is the Acropolis Pyre. Become the legend. I'm taking a guess. Maybe this has kind of a Greek mythology vibe to it. The port of Balix hosts lavish funeral games for a recently deceased hero, inviting all to compete for prizes and glory. When the adventurers investigate an ominous omen that interrupts the festivities, what they find won't just transform them into mythic hero gods, demigods, I guess, but will also incite Balix to violent revelry and arson. Can the new hero gods save the city from self-destruction? The Mythspeaker Adventure Path begins with the Acropolis Pyre, a complete adventure for 1st to 3rd level characters. Well, nice to see that we're starting off with a low-level adventure here. Captain Infinity says the whole Deckard being a replicant is still being hotly debated today. If I remember correctly, I thought Harrison Ford says, no, he's not. Ridley Scott says, yes, he is. And in, I was going to say in the novel, he's not. But the reality is, do androids dream of electric sheep? There's so much that's different than Blade Runner. So, all right. So we've got our campaign overview. Sadly, it looks like this is glued a little bit there to our front cover. So we're going to have 3 chapters here. And of course, this is an adventure. So if you're a player and you're hoping your game master is going to pick up the first chapter of Mythspeaker, you've been warned, even though I know nothing about this adventure outside of what we're going to see. I'm sure we're going to see some spoilers. Sean Dahl says 2 things that Paizo solidly has over Wizards of the Coast are better lore and actual use of it. No stuck on the Sword Coast for Pathfinders. Robert Reynolds says their dad went to Worldcon and saw the car and got to be a script reader for the production company. Oh, nice. Captain Infinity says exactly. The actor's view is completely irrelevant. And yes, in the book, he's human. Yep. And he's trying to save up to buy. The hell is it? Is it a fake bird? If I remember right. It's been a long time since I read it. In fact, I think I read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep not long after Blade Runner came out. All right, campaign overview. The city-states of Iblidos, that's what I'm sticking with, rule an archipelago steeped in mythic power, legendary beasts, and ancient history. Yet the region suffers the myth-speaking rites that used to elevate great heroes into mortal demigods are failing, with few of the hero gods surviving to guide their people and grant magic. This all changes with the war god Gorham's death. The resulting fallout, known as the God's Reign, awakens some forgotten source of mythic potential, transforming the PCs into the first new hero gods in recent memory. But what is this mythic power, and will it revitalize Iblidos, or doom it entirely. Bum, bum, bum. So we will get some background. We get some history. Yes, this certainly looks like this is Greek inspired. We'll find out when we start checking out some of the monsters. So we'll have the Acropolis Pyre, Death Sails a Wine Dark Sea, and Titanbane. So we're going to run up to level 9 with this. And of course, something I forget to mention when we start taking a peek at new adventure paths, Paizo Inc. almost always, to my knowledge, has a free player's guide to the adventure path, which is very useful because a lot of times they'll have like a new background or like kind of, I don't want to say subclass because they don't really have subclasses in Pathfinder, but there'll be some new player options. So yeah, there we go. Captain Finnish says, well, remember, Jeff, in the book, the owl is real, and Rachel tries to bribe Deckard with it. And Deckard's married in the book. And if I remember right, he's happily married. He's not looking to cheat on his wife or anything. Stray Kismet says, Godhood, apply directly to forehead. Chardell says, yeah, those player guides are super useful to give your players an idea what the area is all about, what the adventure is going to be. So here we have to honor the fallen, seeking the bright-tailed star, and rage at rosy-fingered dawn. This is the first adventure path to use the mythic rules featured in War of Immortals. In addition to detailing how to tell mythic stories and grant mythic power to PCs, the book also details the God's Reign, the clash that destroys the war god Gorham and scatters his shattered armor across the cosmos. If you'd like to learn more, you could check out War of Immortals. Sammy reviewed that. Let's see. A war shard kicks off events in this adventure path, though the PCs acquire their own mythic power from the archipelago of Iblidos itself, perpetuating the region's proud hero god tradition. So this might be your first mythic adventure too. The following are a few recommendations for presenting a mythic adventure. Classic myth. It's inspired by ancient Greece and its myths, but it doesn't copy those legends directly. I didn't think it would. Creative solutions like Heracles. Is it Hercules or Heracles? Here it says Heracles. Cleaning the Ogden stables, or Orpheus charming Hades with song. Mythic adventures thrive when the PCs can accomplish great feats using cunning and their surroundings. The adventure path facilitates these scenes, but consider being extra charitable when your players propose their own schemes, especially if they spend mythic points to do so. To honor the fallen, summer winds propel ships east from the inner sea to the lucrative markets dotting southern Kazmarin and ultimately to the riches of Vudra. For over 4,000 years, Iblidos has provided the optimal stopover for these ships, not just those seeking a chance to restock provisions, but also for merchants offloading their cargo before tacking west, rather than sailing the whole Abari crossing. Those same ships often carry passengers seeking adventure in far-off lands, which is probably how your player characters arrive. So there is a contest going on. That is what kicks things off here. So it looks as if we are going to have some set pieces for the games. These are funeral games. So we have sailing and sardines. So Kevin R. Smith says it's Heracles to the Greeks, Hercules to the Romans. I actually knew that, but I was just checking who was going to chime in. Yes, and Kevin R. Smith, once again, schooling us. Charnel says, and we shan't bow to heinous Roman rebranding. Yes, good old biggest dickus. All right, so we've got, it looks like some sailing events. We have a pyre relay. There's a wreck of a cargo ship. It looks like the player characters are going to explore the shoal skimmer. The Grand Melee. That's more of an Arthurian thing. Max Apocalypse is rocking on out. Looks like they're going to go play some Blade Runner. So enjoy. See you next time. Okay. Just taking a flip on through here. I'm interested to see what Paizo Inc. pulls off with something that's kind of inspired by Greek mythology. Now, Sammy will be reviewing this. Sammy already has the PDF, and fingers crossed that she's already kind of taken a peek at it, because I always like to have the reviews for our Paizo Inc. releases prior to them coming out. Not usually the case, but I do try. So Sammy has this. Sammy also has Gatewalkers, which I'm trying to remember if I reviewed Gatewalkers or if she reviewed Gatewalkers, because I remember a lot of stuff from Gatewalkers. So I'm thinking, wait a second, maybe I did the reviews. So this is chapter 2, Seeking the Bright-Tailed Star. Looks like we got a ghost. Ooh. And then Rage at Rosy-Fingered Dawn. Let's see. This looks like this is where they get the War Shard. Although maybe not. Maybe it's already established. I think the player characters have a ship. That's what it might look like. I like the artwork. I like the art so far. Oh, well, there's a nice Cyclops there. So yeah, maybe the player characters are traveling to different islands. Mateo's with us in chat. They've actually been hanging for a bit. I forgot to say hello. Says that goat has some mean horns. We got a phoenix. So we will get Balak's City of Pyres, which is where our adventure begins. So looks like we'll get a little bit of a gazetteer about it. Some points of interest. Then we get the Illyrdan hero gods. So discussing the demigods here and our current hero gods. So our adventure toolbox, new items. Got a couple of new spells. Yep, new feats. And a little bit of a bestiary section. So with new aquatic creatures like the Riptide Octopus Swarm, the Coral Claw, the Pyre Fowl, Torch Eater. And then we have, it's like another team that the player characters are competing against in those games. And then an important NPC. Not our big bad. Usually if there is a big bad to an adventure path, we get their stat blocks in the final chapter. So there you go. There is a peek at the Acropolis Pyre, chapter 1 of the Myth Speaker Adventure Path for Pathfinder. Next up, we got Gatewalkers. Now, this is a collection of the 3-part Gatewalkers Adventure Path. It has been updated for Pathfinder 2nd Edition Revised. Or I should say remastered. I always forget. You know, we've got Reforged, we've got Revised, we've got Remastered. Yes, the remaster of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I understand that it's kind of been tweaked in other ways too. This was a 3-chapter adventure path. I shared a news piece about this yesterday. And I had mentioned, I said, I was kind of surprised they were redoing this. I wasn't necessarily knocking this adventure path, but I was kind of surprised. I would have thought something like Extinction Curse would get the revision treatment because it's quite a bit older. Still a 2nd edition adventure path. In fact, it's one of the earliest of the 2nd edition adventure paths. And then I thought about it. I thought, well, wait a second. Isn't that a 6-chapter adventure path? So you'd be looking at about 600 pages for the hardcover. I'm like, okay, I understand why they didn't do it. Captain Affinity says the online Oxford English Dictionary confirms that primer is indeed the correct American pronunciation. Jeff was right all along, but he doesn't need me to tell him that. Like I said, I had people busting my chops when I called it a primer. I called something a primer, and it was like, no, that's not it. It's like, okay, all right, okay. It's like, geez, slow down. All right, so we will kind of flip on through this. As far as the Acropolis Pyre, if I failed to mention it, the MSRP on this is $29.99. If you want to get it in PDF, is $19.99. Now, Gatewalkers has, I think it's a little over 300 pages. It's got an MSRP of $69.99, but the PDF is the same price as the Adventure Path chapters. So in PDF, you could pick this up on July 2nd for $19.99. So as we kind of flip on through, I'll kind of minor spoilers, kind of share what's going on here. So what happens is the player characters are people who took part in this great disappearance. All these different people all around Golarion kind of disappeared for, if I remember correctly, I think it's a few days, and then they reappear and they don't remember anything about it. They have absolutely no idea what took place. And if I remember correctly, I think they also have some sort of mark. They all share a mark on them, but they have no idea what the mark means. So, of course, they go off to find out what exactly is going on. And there is this almost, I don't want to say Lovecraftian, but there's this like cosmic entity that was defeated and trapped in kind of an Arctic sort of area, and it's trying to reappear. And that is our big bad. But the player characters don't really find out what happened with I forget what it's called. Let's take a look at that back. Missing moment. There we go. So go beyond the gate. On the night of the missing moment, thousands step through portals across Golarion, seemingly against their will. These so-called Gatewalkers return with strange paranormal powers, but no memory of where they had gone. Can the heroes unravel the mystery of the missing moment before the source of their newfound power consumes them? This hardcover compilation includes all 3 adventures, the Gatewalkers Adventure Path, a world-spanning, mind-bending campaign for 1st to 10th level characters. So yes, they also have some new abilities too. And as Sean O'Donnell is pointing out, that must have been a piece of artwork that we just were looking at before. Lady on the right is from a culture reminiscent of the Inuit and other native northern people. Yes, there is a strong focus on that in this adventure path. I got to say, am I seeing this right? Because it looks like the font's a little smaller. It is. This is what I noticed first, was the sidebar here, which of course it is going to be smaller because it's a lot more than, because it's 3 chapters. It's a full adventure path, where this is just the first chapter of it. But yeah, the font on the text is a little bit smaller. Well. Okay. So continuing along. So anyway, as the adventures continue along, they meet kind of a, I don't want to necessarily say Eskimo culture. They're like northern peoples, like Sean O'Donnell mentioned. And there's a young woman who is kind of a shaman that is connected. She's also stepped through the portal during the missing moments. And she joins the player characters. But this actually had a lot going on in it. And yes, yeah, it's kind of true. It is sort of a worlds hopping adventure path, although you're not like jumping around to like a bunch of different worlds, but you do end up in the final chapter, if I remember correctly, on another world. So here we have Dreamers of the Nameless Spires. So this is the conclusion. So this is where the player characters have, if I remember right, I think it's at the end of the 2nd chapter that they learn what actually took place during that missing moment. And it's not good news. I'll just tell you that. So I thought it was kind of cool twist to the adventure. But as you can see, this is, what, we 170 pages in? This is all adventure. We have not gotten into any sort of gazetteer or adventure toolbox or anything like this. We have 195, give or take, pages of adventures. So there is a lot going on. We also get some information about continuing the campaign. Yes, the journal entries of this one doctor early on that the player characters encounter. Adventures on the planet. See, I remember this stuff from the actual chapters, the adventure paths. So like I said, I'm not sure what new material has been added. Sammy is going to be doing the review here. Robert Reynolds rocked on out. I'm sure he's gone already, but thank you for joining us tonight. Here's our adventure toolbox, which of course is going to be quite a bit lengthier than we're used to seeing in a adventure path chapter, because it's a collection of everything from those 3. So we've got some new items. Pickled demon tongue. That's good eating. I will say there is a little touch of cosmic horror in this adventure path. Not a bunch, just a bit, just a hint of it. So we've got creatures. So here's our bestiary section, which is Can be fairly extensive. Creeping evil. Dream scraper. Glimmervine. Skin beetle. Skin beetles are found in most environments that can sustain life, from cold, dry steppes to dense, humid jungles. They use their complex, multi-jointed mandibles to strip the skin and flesh from recently deceased creatures with almost surgical precision. While skin beetles eat most of what they remove, they also preserve chunks for later by coating it in special salivary secretions similar to formaldehyde. The skin beetle rolls this coated flesh into a ball, then stores it under an exposed tree root or rock for leaner times. Signs of skin beetle activity include excoriated skeletons and the smell of the beetle's preservative saliva. We get into some of our NPCs. Then we get some of our big stat blocks, which we would normally see at the end of an adventure path chapter. This is the young woman that the player characters encounter, who they travel together. All right, then we'll wrap up with some ads. What do we clock in here? 284. I thought this was supposed to be more than 300 pages. I guess I did not have the correct information, but still, 284 pages. What we had there, what was it? Probably about 185 pages of actual adventure. Quite a bit there. All right, so that is Gatewalkers for Pathfinder. We have one more item to peek at real quick, and it is the Pathfinder Lost Omens Shining Kingdoms poster map. As I knock a bunch of stuff all over the place. Probably not a good idea to try to stack stuff up on a little box. Duh. Try to get that out of the way. All right. Sammy reviewed Lost Omens Shining Kingdoms, so you can definitely check that out. These are going to be some poster maps. Your guide to the kingdoms. The Shining Kingdoms are home to great rulers, valiant knights, cunning nobles. I've got a cunning plan, me lord. And deadly creatures. Inside the Shining Kingdoms poster map archive, you'll find 7 double-sided full-color poster maps. These maps depict the 6 nations of the Shining Kingdoms region, as well as 6 important cities to serve as your next adventuring sites. The archive also includes a detailed map of the entire region, plus an empty region map to mark up as part of your campaigns. The maps are printed on thick paper stock for repeated use and presented in a durable box for easy storage and use in any high fantasy RPG campaigns. This carries an MSRP of $34.99. In PDF, you'll be able to get this for $9.99. See what we got. Yeah, probably be easier if I just plop them all out. So we have Andoran. So these are 2x2 panel. And the paper has been treated. That's why you'll see there's a sheen to it. And then we have the city of Almas. We have Druma. So points of interest marked there. And then we have the, looks like, I guess we'll call it a city. Well, actually, it might be a fortress city of Curse. The Five Kings Mountains. I believe this is where the dwarves, or one of the dwarf kingdoms. Yep, High Helm. And we get Larad, because we already have a High Helm book. So we've got that. And of course, all of this corresponds with the Pathfinder Lost Omens Shining Kingdoms book. We have Galt. And the city of Isarn. Kionin. Right there. And this is Iadara. I'm going to take a guess that. It's kind of wild. I'm kind of curious what these are here. Don't know. That's kind of wild. Kind of interesting looking. We have Taldor. So the Shining Kingdoms are more of a, like, I don't want to necessarily say traditional, but they are epic fantasy locales. You know, castles and knights in shining armor and so forth. So we have Opara. This looks like another fortified city here. Pretty large city. And then we have a map of the Shining Kingdoms. And I think on the back we'll have that blank map. So the layout here. It's kind of cool. Yep. And then we have the unmarked map here. Nice. All right. So that is the Pathfinder Lost Omens Shining Kingdoms poster map archive. So that will wrap up our Paizo preview for July 2025. We just looked at the 6 items that are arriving in stores on July 2nd from Paizo Inc. Once again, as I mentioned, we are going to see some other items arrive on, I believe it should be the 31st of July, because that is the first day of Gen Con, and that's when we see the release of the Starfinder 2nd Edition Player Core. Like I said, I'm looking forward to checking it out. I think, to be honest, I think Pathfinder deserves more love. It really does. I think there's maybe a misconception about did I say Pathfinder needs more love? Pathfinder does pretty good. Starfinder needs a little more love. And I think this 2nd edition and the fact that it's also going to utilize the 3-action economy like Pathfinder 2nd edition does is going to go a long way. But I think there's a misconception that it's just Pathfinder in space, and it's not. Now, granted, it is space fantasy. So we're not talking, Traveler here. It is space fantasy. There is magic, but there is also, high technology and stuff like that. And I got to say, one of the big selling points for Starfinder, and it looks like it's going to be the same for the 2nd edition, is just the options available to you for your player characters. I got to say, I think out of all the role-playing games that I'm pretty familiar with, Starfinder has the most character creation options as far as even just races and species alone. So we will see. We will see. Like I said, I think that's arriving the 31st. I think there is a single volume, larger adventure kind of a la like Gatewalkers we just peeked at for Starfinder that's also arriving on that date too. So sweet. Sean L says Space Hippo. So Sean also said they're very excited about the Starfinder player core. Sweet. All righty then. So that is going to be wrapping up our Paizo preview. A couple of quick things to mention. Did get some items from our new friends over at Monte Cook Games. I mentioned this last night. For whatever reason, it didn't include, it was supposed to include the Cypher System core rule book, but it did not. So it was, the order was supposed to have 4 books. It only had 3. And weirdly enough, the packing slip showed 4. But then I also had an email from Monte Cook Games or whoever was doing the shipping. And it showed the 3, the correct 3 that arrived. But I do know that one of them doesn't need the Cypher System. So we got the Magnus Archives, which I believe is all in one. So I do not need the Cypher System rule book in order to actually dive on in and start reviewing. But I think I do for the Darkest Hour, as well as High Noon at Midnight. These are all horror related. Kind of cool. So this is almost, I don't want to say it's like Deadlands, but it is a Weird West setting. This, I don't know. I mean, I've shared news of this. I shared news when they were doing the Kickstarter for it, but I'm not sure what sort of horror it is. Don't know. Still doesn't tell me. And then, of course, the Magnus Archives is based on that podcast. It's actually the thickest of the books. So July is going to be a Monte Cook month here at the Gaming Gang. I am trying to see if we can set up an interview with somebody from Monte Cook Games at Gen Con as well. So what I plan on doing is sharing a first look at a Monte Cook Games release each week, because there are going to be 4 weeks prior to me leaving to go to Gen Con. So there's that. And on tomorrow's show, we're going to take a peek inside Dead Air Seasons. This is from the World Anvil. And this is a horror game too. This is kind of, as far as I could tell, sort of in the same vein as The Last of Us. So it's post-apocalyptic. So there you go. So there you have it. Very cool. Plenty of goodies. Plenty of goodies. Captain Finity says, Weird West. That's a new one on me. I don't know if he's being sarcastic or not. Shout out says, I think the Darkest House is agnostic. What, you don't have to be sure about the existence of God? Well, it's because one thing here it says, come explore the Darkest House. The book includes everything you need to bring your existing characters into the Darkest House, regardless of your current game's rule system. This also does not have a PDF. It has a program. So they've got Windows and Mac. So I don't believe you can get this in PDF. You have to get it or it's a program. But that's kind of wild. So yeah, so pretty cool, pretty cool. got some Monty Cook game stuff for us to dive on in and take a peek at. All right, Captain Finity says, no, they're genuinely late. The party on that one. They're going to drop it in everywhere today. Weird West, yes. So Deadlands is Weird West. Haunted West, which is from, oh my God, now I'm Chris Spivey. I was like, oh my God, am I going to vapor lock on Chris Spivey? The hell, man. What was the guy who created Dungeons and Dragons? What was that guy? Gerald what? Ganix? Something like that? Yeah, Chris Spivey's one of my favorite game designers, adventure designers too. So that's also Weird West. What the hell is the other one that's built on Dungeon Crawl Classics? It's pretty popular. Weird Frontiers. I think that's what it's called. We have a review of that. That I've never had a chance to take a peek at. I reviewed the box set for Deadlands that came out from the fine folks over at Pinnacle Entertainment Group. Kevin R. Smith says, game-wise, I think Weird West started with Deadlands. I believe Kevin R. Smith is correct. In fiction, it goes back to Stephen King's The Gunslinger. Wouldn't it go further back than that? I don't know. I mean, we did have like Cowboys and Dinosaurs. I think we had a couple of movies with some Ray Harryhausen special effects in those that I would consider to be Weird West. Yeah, because I'm kind of curious. I read I think the first two of the Gunslinger series. I didn't really get into that, strangely enough, because I actually like Stephen King. Sean Dahl says DC's Weird Western Tales in 72. Yeah, wouldn't Jonah Hex? That's Weird West. That's way before the Gunslinger. Because isn't Jonah Hex 70s? I don't think he's 60s. I don't know. But yes, that is your concept. Sean Downs pointing out The Horror from the Mound by Robert E. Howard. Could be considered Weird West too. Yeah. I don't remember that story too well though. Actually, I'll be honest. I know I've listened to that on audiobook because I have a collection of all of Robert E. Howard's like horror stories. I've got all his Conan stuff too, but just like I've got his Solomon Kane, his Call. I've got all that audiobook stuff. But yes, I remember listening to it. I don't remember what it's about though. Anyway, so Kevin R. Smith says they didn't get to read Jonah Hex as a kid, so they didn't know it had supernatural elements. Oh, yeah. Funny enough, when I was a kid, we just read Marvel. We didn't read DC. We kind of would make fun of people who read DC. Then when I got older and I kind of got back into collecting comics, which then got my brother back into collecting comics, I read everything. I read DC. I read Marvel. Most of the DC stuff I read, though, was Vertigo, a lot of the Vertigo stuff, and then a lot of indie stuff. So W. Ford says Wild Wild West is Western punk. Well, if we're talking about the 60s TV show with Robert Conrad, who I don't know if I ever mentioned this before. I went to grade school with Robert Conrad's stepbrother. I mean, he really didn't know Robert Conrad, but they were stepbrothers. So it was kind of wild, kind of weird. My friend, his name is Chris. He was the son of a radio personality in Chicago, a guy named Eddie Hubbard, who, if you weren't from Chicago, even if you were from Chicago and you are my age, you probably would not remember this guy, because I think he was already out of radio, or kind of on his way out of radio when I was, just a kid. Kevin R. Smith says, Western steampunk, especially the Will Smith movie. Oh, God. What an awful flick that is. But yes, I was going to say the 60s show, I would say, is more along the lines of a Wild West James Bond, as opposed to being like Weird West, because it's just, technological stuff. I don't recall Jim West and Artemis Gordon taking on monsters or anything like that. They took on, like, evil scientists and stuff, but so now I don't think I would call the original Wild Wild West Weird West. Or maybe it's just kind of like on the fringe of it. All right. So that is it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. It'll not only let you know when I share videos such as tonight's Paizo Preview, it'll also inform you when I upload other videos, such as my recent review of, let's go with the Traveler Core Rulebook Update 2022. This is a recent review. That's a recent review. This one's fairly recent too. Whoop, as I hit the wizard bub in the head. So this is just out. So I thought it was kind of funny. Just like, well, what is it? More Prepared, which I reviewed a while ago, just was coming out in stores this week. Anyway, so yes, if you ring that bell, you'll be notified whenever I share a video. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, big thank you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're keeping each other company too, as I'm sharing the news or doing a first look through stuff, paging through a book, unboxing a game, and so forth. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you never have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out of your very busy life to watch any of the over 2,200 videos here on the channel. Really does mean a lot to me. It truly, truly does. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Don't forget, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Bang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com, because you're going to find stuff that you'll never see here on YouTube as well. All right. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you kindly for watching tonight's show. And as always, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.